And how do you think hospitality has impacted you or your business?
Since I was the age of 7, I've been carrying plates and
Younger people starting out in hospitality, what advice would you give them younger people? So, thank you for coming on to the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
For anyone that doesn't know you, could you introduce yourself, who you are and what your business is?
Okay, so my name is Boscq, and so my business is, 15 years ago I set up a business called the Busy Queen Bee, and the Busy Queen Bee was doing mystery shopping and customer service training, and it kind of grew into more of the customer journey mapping, so anything to do with customer service, that's what it was. And then the pandemic arrived, and I lost all my business in 3 days. And so I had to kind of do a lot of businesses, kind of reinvent yourself, or what am I doing next? And so I kind of closed the mystery shopping business, and I focused really on more the public speaking and really raising awareness on bigger stages and bigger audiences on the importance of customer experience. So my business is just called Boscq, and that's my website name. But as we'll go towards the next piece of your podcast, I'm sure we'll talk about the next piece and what we're doing with the Jersey Customer Experience Alliance.
That's great. And so I met you at Highlands the last time, and you said that you had a background in hospitality, hence you have a customer service business.
Yeah.
My question was, how did you find hospitality?
Well, I mean, I grew up in hospitality. My dad had a restaurant, so since I was the age of 7, I've been carrying plates. And so I guess when you grow up in that environment, you either love it or hate it. And I loved it. I love seeing people happy. I love seeing people coming back, and they were just becoming friends. And it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun as well. And I think in those days, that's what it was, a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, but we were having a lot of fun. So I did my catering school in Nice, in France. And then I first came to Jersey when I was 18 as a little receptionist.
Wow. What hotel was that?
So at the time, it was Le Cooper on the Roselle.
Right, okay.
So no longer exists. And then I did 2 years as well at Saint-Blaise Bay Hotel. Wow. So that was kind of my first. So I was doing ski resort in France as a receptionist. And then in the summer, I was doing Jersey. So that was pretty cool. I did a year in Epcot Center after that. So I worked again. I was in hospitality. I was in the French Pavilion as a waitress in Epcot Center, and that was the time where really I got the real approach of what customer experience means from an employee's point of view. So the employee experience and the customer experience. Because before we could actually even step onto the park, we had a week in Mickey Mouse University. We couldn't actually step in without actually knowing all the rules, the vision, the mission, how to talk to people, how to dress, the size of your nails, the size of your shoes. It was really, really in depth, and you start realizing that everything counts when you talk about customer experience. Every little details are part of that experience. And then I came back to England, and I came back to Jersey 25 years ago. And 25 years ago, funny enough, I was managing the Saint-Blaise Bay Hotel. So the hotel, I was a little receptionist quite a few years before. So that was kind of, I think that's what the beauty of this industry as well. When you work in the hospitality industry, if you're passionate about it, if you really want to make it happen, you can travel, you can, go up the ranking pretty quickly as well if you've got a passion for it. So it was really good to come back. And then I did Saint-Blaise Bay Hotel. Then I worked at the Royal Yacht Hotel. So when we did a full refurbishment, nice. So that was a big project, £32 million project. So that was very interesting. And then I did L'Horizon Hotel as well for a couple of years. So that was back in 17 years ago. Then I set up my business 15 years ago.
And how do you think hospitality has impacted you and your business?
Well, it's always been throughout my life. So when I left L'Horizon, that was just because I was getting divorced and I had 2 little children, and hospitality, it was just too much for a single mom with two children. And then so I wanted to be able to work from home. And so but I created a service. So mystery shopping was really a service to be on the other side. So still working with hotel and hospitality, but helping them to deliver better service. So I was doing a lot of training, and I've always been, helping and supporting a lot of the hotels. Obviously, I was CEO of the Jersey Hospitality Association for a year as well, back in 2021. And so that was another kind of, for me, full on being embraced into the hospitality industry, helping the industry kind of coming out of COVID, which was a tough time for everybody. And then all the policies working between the government, the association, the members, the other associations around. So it was very involved. And I think, again, there's a lot of very passionate people in this industry on the island. A lot of older family as well, which run their hotels for a very, very long time. And we do have a beautiful island. We do have beautiful hotels, restaurants, cafes, and I've been to many, many places, and Jersey is a beautiful place to be. So hospitality here in Jersey, it's tough, but it's like in any part of the world. But we've got some beautiful places.
I think hospitality is one industry where, 'cause I know, so I worked at Radisson before, and I think a lot of people didn't have certain like qualifications or anything. Hospitality is one where you just work your way up. You can easily, if you're passionate about it, you can easily.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some very big school for hospitality, and I think being a French girl, for me, going in catering school, I had to pass an exam, and I had to actually, work my way to get to that catering school. So, and for me, it was always a big proud moment when I got accepted to the catering school, and perhaps some of the youngest generation may not feel as much as a proud place to work, but maybe just to kick off their career and just start again. Whereas really, when you're looking at it, there's some beautiful, incredible schools, whereas Lausanne and Nice and Paris, and some beautiful, very renowned catering school. And you come out of those schools and you can just be a general manager pretty much straight away, kind of things.
And is that like a 3-year course?
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. I think it depends on what you're doing. You can do an MBA in catering and hospitality if you wanted. But I think, again, so Highland is providing some really good courses. So having the basis and the knowledge of it helps you understanding how the hotel works. But you need to be on the shop floor, on the shop floor, literally the restaurant floor or the hotel floor, and you need to do the work to actually understand how it works. So combining both and having that education piece of it, which will, educate you more about how to run a hotel and how to run and manage, all the finance side of it. Then having the operation side of it, it's a beautiful balance to be able to really go up quite quickly on the ladder and travel the world and meet different people, and it's a beautiful industry.
And you mentioned younger people starting out in hospitality. What advice would you give them younger people?
Yeah, just go for it. Actually, I think especially the summer's arriving now, so there'll be job everywhere. And I think, again, I used to love doing shift pattern. I know it's not everybody does that, but because you could get up really early in the morning and then you had the rest of the afternoon and the evening off, and having or split, and then I could go skiing all afternoon, and those were the days. And so there's different hours, and yes, there's different things, but you can make it your own, and actually you can make it work beautifully. And it's a great industry to work in. And again, it's when you're young, and you can make it your own, and you can really go up the ladder by doing something and traveling around the world. You can do anything in hospitality if you want to.
And you mentioned traveling around the world. My question for you was, what key differences are you seeing in customer service compared to Jersey? So you mentioned, when I saw you in Highlands, you said you've been to Dubai and places like that. What key differences do they do?
So I think there is So I've done quite a lot of work in Asia, in India, in Malaysia, and those kind of countries, the Philippines. And they've got, I think, the cultural side of it is very different. So from the beginning, from birth, they have a culture of service. And serving others isn't something that is below them. It's something that make them very proud and make them very happy. So there's a very different cultural side of it already from the people. Dubai was a big, massive industrial, global industry, because they have 83% of the population is expat. So can you imagine a country with 83% of the population being expat? Yeah. So in hotels and in industry, actually, there was, Emirates were probably owning the hotels, but all the workers were really from different industry. And that's the beauty of it as well, because you can have a Chinese person with a Japanese person, with a Nepal person, with an Indian person working in the same. Yeah. So as an organization, this where it becomes quite a challenge, because you may have 5 or 6 or 10 different culture and nationality working in the same place. So how do you bring all of those people working together, having the same vision, and really kind of working towards the same, serving the customers and make them feel happy, and delivering great customer experience. So I think that everywhere in the world, for me, customer service, it's very simple. It's about basics: politeness, smiling, making an eye contact, making people feel good. That's what, caring. That's the basics of customer service. And anywhere in the world, you can give care. Anywhere in the world, anyone can give a smile. Anywhere in the world, anyone can give an eye contact and say hello. So, once you start thinking that's the basis and the core of everything, how do you make your customers feel? And that's, then up to the organization. How do they culture and nurture those feelings and those emotions, whether they're in India, or whether they're in Paris, or whether they're in America? How do you make your customer feel? And as an organization, this is key for them to really be able to connect with their customers at that emotional level.
And you mentioned smiling, eye contact, part of your business. I've seen on LinkedIn you've been handing around. So do you give just for people in customer service just smile badges if they've done a good service, or is it?
We did, it was a little campaign. So back last July, I came back from Dubai, and I actually decided to elevate even more customer experience on the island. So, and I thought, if I'm going to do that, we need to be a group of us together. It can't be just me, little Claire, trying to do this. So I decided to create the Jersey Customer Experience Alliance. And that means that we could unite different businesses who are doing similar things, or things in the same industry. So maybe market research, or sales training, or mystery shopping, or anything that relates with the employee or the customer experience, into one place where organization can actually get bigger project, bigger strategy put together, and really elevate their customer experience. So we had our first conference last year, which was in October, and that went really well. And then after that, I wanted to keep the momentum going, and keeping people with a smile. And so I went round, and people were nominating, and people were getting little smile badges. Right. So you could, if you were nominated, somebody would nominate somebody, either hairdresser, hair salon, or nail varnish, or I've even pinned the chief minister with a pin. For his service. And it's just a little pin. Yeah. And it's just to say thank you for the work that you're doing. And oh my gosh, Harvey, it was amazing. The response I got, people were crying, and they were in tears, and they couldn't believe that, somebody's nominated them, because it was just like, it was unbelievable. So it was really nice. So it was a 6 weeks campaign that we did. And then following that, Right. So you worked in hospitality. In hospitality, you've got standards. So what does a 3-star hotel look like? Feels like? What service do they deliver? What is a 5-star hotel? What's the service they deliver? But for retail shop or for an accountant or for a call center, there was not any level or benchmarking.
Yeah.
So in February, we've created the SMILE standard. And so the SMILE standard are a set of standard which helps businesses measure and benchmark themselves to say, okay, well, if we're doing those 5 things, we're good. We have a basic good customer service. And then what's next? So what else can we do to actually elevate that? So that's kind of the idea of the SMILE standard. So continuing from the SMILE badges, we're creating a SMILE standard. And then in October this year, we'll be launching the SMILE certification. So then you'll be able to get certified into, take the course and then get certified into the SMILE standards.
Right. Okay. So how does it work? So is it the people that are nominating someone gets in contact with you and?
So that was a 6-week campaign. Right. So we kind of finished a campaign. We'll probably do it again kind of on November time, but it was just around November, December last year that we did that little campaign. Right, okay. But it's always good, if you see a good service, don't wait for somebody, tell them. It takes, people are so quick to moan and complain and go on Facebook and all those horrible groups and just, lash out. And actually, it just takes a second to say, thank you. Yeah. You just, wow, you were amazing today. So I think, if we start elevating, just everybody starts being more positive and saying thank you as well for the service that they receive and acknowledging somebody who's done a good service. And that will start, elevating, and it's a ripple effect. If you do it to somebody else would do it to somebody else. Yeah. It's so easy, right? Yeah.
And so you mentioned culture being a big thing, and obviously the SMILE standards, I can see it's a big thing in culture for your business. Working in Disney, how did you find that, and how has it impacted you and your business?
It still impacts me. 30 years later, I'm still impacted. I think when the culture is done right, so again, I think we talk a lot about values and visions and missions when you start in an organization. Which is great when you started, but then are they really followed up? So, do you really recruit your employees with the values of the organization? Do you really drive everything, every decision that you take through the values and through the missions? Is that, something that is talked about in a board meeting and at the staff meeting? How is this really embedded into everything? And I think that's the thing about sometimes values are just the pretty things that you put on the wall, but not necessarily something that is lived. Yeah. So it's important to be able to create a culture, nurture people, make them sure that you create trust, engagement, and care with that organization. So Disney is always, for me, was is it Holy Grail? Can I go up to that level? But I mean, for millions of people who've worked at Disney, everybody in the deep down, I'm sure that there were some unhappy employees, but deep down, every cast members has memories of it. With the culture, they've taken somebody on, continue those things throughout their life, and had some, learned some things that they've continued learning and acting on throughout their lives. So being able to impact people at that level, it's quite powerful. So, but it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of every single details. I was saying, from the size of our nails to the size of our shoes, yeah, to how our hair was supposed to be, everything was really calculated and mapped out. And that takes a lot of time. And actually, if you spend time nurturing a culture within your organization, you'll have employees that feel happy, they'll want to stay, they'll be more productive, they'll be more engaged, they'll work better between each other, and they will sell more, and you'll have a better, more profitable business. I mean, it's just that simple, right?
Because what I did an assignment a few weeks ago, and I think you had to debate a statement. It was culture is the most important part of business success. Do you think that's right? Compared to anything, do you think culture is the most important?
So I'd say if culture includes emotions, I'd probably agree with that. If somebody puts emotions into their culture and that everything's about how do we want our customers to feel, how do we want our employees to feel, how do we want to feel as leaders when we're in that organizations, how do we drive that through the emotions? It's that if the culture is a culture of care and a trust and engagement, that's good.
And then building on culture, I'm going to try to say this right. Feng Shui? Feng Shui?
Okay, Feng Shui.
Feng Shui, okay. Can you explain what that is?
Okay, so the pandemic, I lost all the business. Right. And then I was thinking, what am I going to do now? Yeah. And then I thought, well, I've got no business, I've got no clients, I've got nothing. So I may as well just come out with something that no one's talking about. And at that moment in time, everybody suddenly had to work from home, right? You remember that time, school at home, and sitting on your bed or sitting on a kitchen table. That wasn't the most productive time of your life, right? And everybody had to live with 2 or 3 people: the dogs, the cats, the phones, the Zoom meetings coming out of your ears, and then. At that time, I really was questioning myself as how could I be of service? Because one of my biggest values is serving. How do I serve other people? How do I care for other people? How do I help people? And then it came to me that I'd been a Feng Shui practitioner for 15 years, but I never really talked about it. So Feng Shui is the Chinese principles. And it's not a religion. It's not, but people may have thought at the time may have been a little bit woo-woo, but it's not woo-woo. It's if you imagine when you were sitting on your bed trying to do some work, you probably didn't feel really great. You probably wasn't very, productive. If you're sitting in a kitchen table and you got everybody running around, you're probably not very productive. When you're walking into a shop or when you're walking even into a bar or restaurant and you're walking in and you just go, ooh, that doesn't feel right. Yeah. You feel that, right? You feel it. You don't know why, but you don't feel comfortable in that place. Whereas you walk into somebody else's house and you just, oh, I love your home. It feels so homely and so comfortable. Right, so you don't know why. Well, this is Feng Shui. So it's the way that, the energy around us make us feel good or not. And I think the Feng Shui principle teaches us how we can actually create a better environment. So on a subconscious level, we feel good, we feel safe, we feel comfortable, and we're able to be a lot more productive, and we're able to be feeling a lot more happy because we don't have to worry about that environment. We feel the environment. And I think a lot of the things that I've been doing now is about that emotional connections and how do we feel. So I created something called Boscq, so Business Feng Shui, and it's a method which looks at the culture of the business, so the inner energy of a business, how do that inner energy that we create with our employees, the outer energy of the business, so the environment that we create, the space that we have around us, does it make us feel happy or does it hinder us? The employees' experience, so the internal customers and the external customers are the customers, and that's my little Boscq method. So I created that during the pandemic. Yeah. I've written a book about it, and it's blending those Feng Shui principles into the business environment, so we can be more prosperous, we can feel happier in ourselves, we can be more productive, we can have more harmonious environments.
Okay, and how many books have you read? You mentioned written. So it was the mystery shopping.
Yes, so I've written 4 books actually. 4, two got bestsellers on Amazon, which was pretty cool. So we had Thrive with a Hive, which was my very first one. That kind of took me about 3 years to write. Okay. And at the time, obviously, my business was the Busy Queen Bee, so it had to be around the hive and how the hive works and the organizations and how organizations should work more like beehives because it's an amazing organization. And then the next one was following the Thrive with a Hive, but it was bringing a lot more care into it. So it's thriving by caring. And if we care for people, if we care for our environment, if we care for things around us, everything comes from care. Everything from being, attentive and attentionate, really conscious about what we do and how we do things. So that was kind of the follow-up on that. And then, yes, I did the little secret diary of a mystery shopper. So again, that was the pandemic, and I thought, well, I've got no customers, I may as well tell all the stories into a book. So that was so there were some really good stories, some not so good stories, and then some atrocious stories and exceptional stories. And there's always a learning behind it. So that's what's really good about it. So I do love as well when I do keynote presentations. I will mystery shop the presentation. So I did. I was in Qatar and I mystery shopped Qatar Airways, and then I mystery shopped the hotel that I was staying in. And when I came on stage, I then went backstage, put a wig on, put my jacket on, my glasses on, and I came back. And I came back as a mystery shopper, and we talked about the experience from the mystery shopper's point of view. So mystery shopping is always, in the back of, it's my little baby. It's always in the back of things. And then the fourth book, it was Be Shui. So, that little blend of the Feng Shui principles and the business needs.
And could you explain what mystery shopping actually is to any viewer that doesn't know it?
Mystery shopping is actually evaluating customer service, the experience that you have in an organization. So we often see it more so for hotels, because hotels again have standards and AAs, and they sign to be certified by a certain body to get those stars. But any businesses really who wants to deliver better service need to be able to measure it, so we can go into hotels, call centers, trust companies, any kind of industry, and actually measure. So we would create a questionnaire with the organizations, what they're trying to achieve. Do they have gaps? Do they things that already they know is not going quite right? And more often than not, that's how it starts. And then we can then send the shoppers anonymously, so they will go around and they'll come back and they'll report on that particular visit.
And then I've got a keynote speaker. Got a question. What is your opinion? What, in your opinion, makes a good keynote speaker, do you think?
The passion behind you, the passion behind, the passion you have, the fire you have in your belly about something. I think anybody can speak. I'm attending to TEDx St. Helier this afternoon, and so it's going to be lots of, interesting speakers. If you have a message and you're passionate about something, anybody can pick up a camera and do it. Pick up your phone and go on TikTok if you want, or Instagram, and share your message, because that's how it starts. And then the more confident you get, then there are tools and techniques that you can learn to be a better speaker. But behind, at the core of everything, you really need to have a passion for what you talk about, and actually then you can develop on that.
Because if anyone's seen you at keynote speakers, I've seen clips of you. You're wearing bright, bold colours. You say dance, sing, and everything. So you can tell that you're a very passionate person.
Yeah. So there's yes, I think again, when you have your own business, your brand, you are your brand, and being my own business, solopreneur, entrepreneur, however I'm called. Everything is about your brand, and so when I'm on stage, my brand is yellow. My yellow shoes have gone around the world. I mean, they're more popular than my talk. People remember my shoes more than they remember my talk. And again, so I use a lot of NLP. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and NLP it's all about our brain and how do our neurons work, and everything to do with our brain, our subconscious level. And so I talk a lot about that, because when we connect with people on that subconscious level, being able to build rapport, it's really important. So I do a lot when I talk on training, I do a lot about that. And when you do public speaking, you're talking not the one to one, but one to hundreds or 200 or 500. So you have to be able to connect with that audience on a bigger stage, right? One person to 500 people. It's more way to connect. And so I was in Zurich last week, and I did a presentation, and I was the closing keynote speaker. So you can imagine you've been in a conference from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5:30, and you're ready to check out. Yeah. You just want to go home by then. You've got the kids thinking that, you may have to do some shopping, you've got some homework, you've got the kids to pick up, if you've got family, what are you going to do for dinner? So your mind is already checked out by 5:30, and here's Claire arriving on stage. I tell you what, that moment in time, you need to get the room shifting, the energy in that room. So for me, being able to, at any time that I speak, I need to be able to shift the energy so people kind of react and then suddenly come back to me, right? So to be able to come and, dance on I Feel Good. Everybody knows that song. Everybody in the world knows that song. Get them up and dancing, get them up and shaking and moving the energy in the room. That's what, that's what I'm trying to do when I come dancing. And then you connect, right? Because we're all, silly dancing, and it's not just me silly dancing on my own. Everybody's like, and I was told the Swiss are very shy. I'm not sure they're going to do it, but they all got up and done it. And then you're able to really kind of connect, because then the energy shifted. People got the attention. They're like, oh, what's going on with her? What is she going to talk about? And then so you've got the attention. So then you can go into deeper things. So when I talk, I start very much with a bang, and I'll take them into a visualization. So we'll go into a meditation moment as well. We'll go into storytelling. I'll talk about Disney and personal stories. So there's different tools and technique that you use during your presentation to actually keep connecting with the audience. So they keep connecting, they keep engaging, they keep thinking, oh, what's next? What's the excitement behind it? So yeah, it's a, for a speaker being on stage, my first big keynote was in 2018 when I was in Beijing in China. Okay. I went and I spoke to a mystery shopping professional association, and that was my first time. And I came off that stage and I thought, I want to do that again forever. I want to continue doing that. It was just so amazing. So yeah, some of those, it's amazing when you see people and you actually, like I come to Highland College and, you connected with me afterwards, and, that you've been following me ever since. So, you've really connected with it. And I think that's what you can make a difference to somebody's life by just sharing that moment with them.
It's funny because you saying yellow is like the color of your brand. Right. So before each guest comes on the episode, starting from Monday to Saturday, day of recording, I hint clues of which guest it's going to be, okay. And the clue was yellow, and so no one knew what it was. But it was funny when you came to Highlands. I was saying to my mate JJ, you're dressed as your website, so you had a yellow dress, black trousers, and then yellow shoes, and I kept going like that. But yeah, that's really interesting. Did you always know that you wanted to be a keynote speaker?
No, so it's a funny one, I think, and I think with the years of doing a little bit of inner work with myself, and now that I'm very much into keynote speaking, I think when I was younger, I was at school, probably about 12, 13, I was doing a lot of theatre, and then something happened and I had to stop. And my parents stopped me going to doing the theatre. Right. And so somehow, somewhere, I'm sure I'm a frustrated young teenager who'd never managed to continue doing her theatre. And 40 years later, she's coming out with it all blazing.
What advice would you give people wanting to follow a similar path? So maybe not in customer service, but having a business and being a keynote speaker. Okay. What advice would you give them?
Okay, so yeah, I think being a business, and you're a beautiful example of it, just to go for it, it's probably the right thing to do. And you know what, you're learning by your mistake, but if you're never doing anything, you're never going to learn, are you? So you need to kind of get on it and try things out, and listening what is it that you're passionate about? And I think, when I moved from hospitality to the business, it was a very much, what am I doing? What do I really want to do? Where is my passion behind it? My passion was still hospitality, but I couldn't really work in it as that. So what was the thing that I could help hospitality get better? And that's kind of finding the niche as well, a little bit of a niche, because there are so many people doing so many things. Do a bit of market research. If you've got an idea, don't go blazing starting something without having done a bit of research about it. So, do a bit of a business plan around it, some market research about it, a bit of a financial plan about it. So, all those things that you kind of learn, sometimes you learn at school. Some people don't learn that at school, but now there's places like Jersey Business and that can help you doing all those things. So, a lot of time, and I've done it myself, started some services which no one wanted at all, and I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money trying to promote it, and no one wanted it. So, do your research before you start anything, but go for it. Absolutely go for it. I think there's a lot of young people I've done several Dragon's Den, at Highland College and Holyu, and, I've done several of those things. And oh my gosh, you guys have got so many creative ideas, just, speak to a couple of people, that can give you some advice. Maybe mentoring is quite a good way, get a couple of mentors and, getting some advice on, how to start up and raising funds and doing those kind of things. But yeah, just be scared and do it anyway.
And then you saying be scared but do it anyway. What's going through your head when you're backstage and you're about to go on stage? Is it more nerves, or is it more excitement that you're...
I think there's a bit of both. So the preparation towards a talk for me takes quite a few weeks. So I usually sleep and dream about my talk. So I'll fall asleep rehearsing my talk. So subconsciously during the night, I kind of work it that way. So I do a lot of that kind of work. And then just before, maybe an hour before, I kind of I do a bit of an exercise here on that yellow chakra here, and I just pretend I've got a big sun growing and growing and growing and growing, and it just grows so big that the sun is kind of all around me. So when I come on stage and I kind of start, I'm kind of already kind of shining, So that's a bit of mindset and emotional mindsets kind of preparations. But there's there's different things that we're all about hormones. So if you want to raise your energy, you need to pump up your hormones. So whether you pump up with endorphins, so when you do sport, you do a lot of sport. So when you finish, you kind of full pumped into endorphins, right? But another way to release endorphin is laughing. So if you're going to a talk and you want to make people laugh, well, watch some funny videos before, or funny comedian before your talk, so you kind of get yourself in that mode. Whereas if you're going to be talking about something really quite sad or really quite deep or very quite emotional, you're not going to watch funny stories, right? But, maybe look at cats videos and start, releasing some serotonin and just like, oh, a little baby video and a little baby cat. So those are the kind of little simple things that you can do, because a talk is not just about you being on stage. It's about your whole emotions. It's about the whole personality that comes in and how you give that emotions and that connections to other people. So there's your talk, the preparations, the content, the slides that you need to have right, but there's you as your whole you. How do you behave? How's your mental, how's your emotions, and how's your physical? They all work together.
And you mentioned going back to mentoring. Did you have a mentor?
Yeah, I've mentored a few people. Yeah, I have mentored a few. I think it's what we all need to do. I've learned a lot of things that I should have not done. a lot of mistake I've done. You know, if I can share some of those things and some of the things that I talk about, you know, my videos, and go back to pandemic videos, you know, on my YouTube channel, I was doing a lot of those kind of things on resilience and emotional intelligence, and you know, some of those tips and walking and, you know, five senses and all those kind of things. So I've done a lot of personal work myself, and so being able to give those tools to somebody else as well, so they don't fall into the pitfall that I've fallen, is a beautiful thing to do, definitely.
And then mistakes. What is one big mistake that you made early on in your career, do you think?
So a big mistake that I got into my career, I did. So when I started the business, it was actually called 4-Star Services, and it was wedding planning, event management, training, and mystery shopping. And people didn't know what the hell I was doing. They had no idea what is she on about. And so I did that for a couple of years, and that was just hard work because no one knew. And the day I stopped everything else and I just focused on mystery shopping, that was the day that, you know, it started. And then that was just the one focus. Then we could do other things around training and, you know, but yeah, focusing on the thing that makes sense it's to start with, you know, then you can expand, of course, but focusing on something, and do your market research. I mean, again, I've launched several projects that no one cared about, and I spent a lot of time and effort and energy on it, which, you know, so a bit of market research is quite cool as well to do in advance. And ask for support. I think the biggest thing that the pandemic taught me is asking for support. You know, I was like the strong woman, and I'm a strong, you know, and I'm, you know, independent, and I'm strong, and I can do it all myself. Yeah. And then when I lost everything, I was like, you know, I was on the floor, and I couldn't pick myself up from that floor for months. And having a circle and being able to ask for help was the biggest lessons of the pandemic for me. Yeah.
And then, so customer service was, in your opinion, how do you think it's evolved over the 5 years?
So I think, again, the core of everything is about care. Wherever you are, whatever country, whatever age you are, it's all about caring. How do we care for our people? That is basically customer service. I think it's people's expectations have changed. People have higher expectations. People travel quite a lot nowadays, so they can start looking at other places and start, you know, benchmarking and. But as a whole, if me as an employee feel cared for, and we come back to that culture piece, if I feel cared for, if I feel that, you know, I feel good in my environment, I know what I'm doing, I've been trained to doing the right thing, you know, my bosses value me, I will give great service, you know, and I think we need to kind of sometimes go back to those basics as well. I see organizations spending thousands of dollars on advertising and marketing and Facebook ads and all sorts, and they don't spend a penny on their people. Not a penny on training them, on giving them the tools, on making them feel good. And that just for me is like, it just blows my mind up, you know. Yeah. So, you know, if we just take a little bit of care as an organization for our people and give them the right tools, and you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's the thing as well. You know, some people, well, that's common sense. Well, not if you've never been taught that. Okay, so that's where the training is invaluable, because you don't know what you don't know. So being able to do regular training and, you know, with your employees will enable that service to be seamless from every point of view.
And how do you think, if we do everything like that, say the next 5 years, how would that impact your business, do you think, and the industry?
Oh, my business? Well, you know, be the queen of the castle. But I think, when I came back, I did go to Dubai, and I had kind of fallen off love of Jersey. I think after the pandemic and everything else, it was a bit. I just needed to get out, and that's why I spent a bit of time in Dubai, and I spent about a year doing more stages and more presentations. There's obviously bigger stages out there, and it was a real eye opener as well, and it made me realize how beautiful the island is, how lucky we are here. A lot of people say it's expensive, yes, but it's not as expensive as Dubai. It's not as expensive as Zurich. It's not as expensive as other countries and other places. So sometimes people moan about things when they've never been any other places. So yes, there's inflation everywhere, of course. But again, if you have employees who are trained properly and they're doing their job and they're feeling good in themselves and they're more productive, they're going to give better service. They're going to sell more. The customers are going to come back. They're going to be loyal. It's a very, very simple circle, really, of excellence. So if you've got a thriving business, it's because you're looking after your people, because you're creating an environment, because you've got, whether it's good food or good product, and you're valuing your customers. That's a thriving business. And so if we can elevate customer experience by really harmonizing the places, by really, energizing our people, and by really nurturing that culture, that's the way we're going to do it. And as an island, if we have thriving businesses, we're going to have a thriving island, right? It's just so simple.
And then owning your business. So you've said that you've tried different businesses and they haven't worked out for some reasons. Do you wake up feeling more stressed or more excited knowing that you have that business?
So I think I've always, so for 15 years I've had the business. I think when I tried different services within the business, I think that's probably some of the services that I'd launched were not as successful as others. And again, it's about, talking to your customers and knowing what they need from you, really. But I think I'm unemployable. If I'm honest, Harvey. And running my own business is, it's the beauty. So being able to have clients that I can do fabulous work with, that have a really great open minds, and that we're able to do some creative stuff. It's amazing. And I think I used to get quite frustrated as well with businesses who didn't get why customer service was important or customer experience was important. And since I've come back, I feel like I just want to work with nice customers who get it. So that's why I'm attracting just nice customers and good happy people who just really want to do some good work. So it's really cool.
And you mentioned, so obviously going back to your books, you've written 4 books. So with your business, how do you manage your time writing books and having your business? Because I've seen a lot of people have their businesses and they write books, but I wonder how they have that time.
I'm an early bird, so when I was writing the books, I was getting up at 4:45, and I was writing from 5 to 7. And then at the time I had the kids, so then 7:00 he was prepared, getting the kids ready. So for me that was my 2 hours writing was 2 hours, and then at the weekend I was doing a 6 till the kids would wake up, so maybe 9 or something. So that was. But then my first book did take me 3 years. I did do my marketing certificate in between as well, so I did have quite a few things on. But then my last book took me 3 weeks.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Because you've got you've got the map, you know how to do it. All my book are self-published as well, so I did ebooks, published on Amazon. And again, the first one you're like, whoa, it takes so long to know where to go, which button to press, what to do. And then with the fourth one, it was like, yeah, bang.
And then, so at the end of each episode, we have Slido questions.
Okay, yeah.
I've got one for you. How do you manage to get clients when starting the business? / how did you advertise when starting out?
Okay, that was a very good question, actually, whoever asked that question. So mystery shopping you asked me what it was. It wasn't something that everybody knew about 15 years ago. So for me, I had to be able to explain what mystery shopping was. And so my best way and how I've always worked like that is networking. I do a lot of networking. If there's an event I can be at, you can be sure I'm going to be there. I've reduced my amount of networking. But when I started my business, I was absolutely everywhere. Anything that could happen, whether it was IOD, Chamber, Breakfast Club, here, Santander, any events that, was going on, I was there because I was speaking with people. I was showing my face. I was showing up. People were getting sick of me. And that's what I was doing, because then I was able to talk about my business. And when you don't talk about your business, that's fine. You're still there. And that's the thing. People have a very short memory. If you're not there, I wasn't here for a year when I was in Dubai. I didn't get one inquiry from Jersey whilst I was in Dubai. Not one client. So you need to be consistently out there. And on the different platforms as well. So whether you're networking face to face, you're doing some other social media. So pick your channel. You don't have to be in 5 different things. Pick one, but be consistent with your message on that one. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whichever you pick, TikTok. Be consistent and be consistent with your message. So your offline marketing and online marketing needs to be very aligned as well. So yeah.
And then the second question, what did you want to be / what job did you want when you were younger?
Okay. I wanted to be a air hostess. My godmother was a air hostess for Air France, and I thought it was always so cool. So again, it was service industry, it was all about traveling. It was all about speaking English. So there was a lot of things that I got quite attracted. And so when I did my catering school, I think that probably in my head that was to go towards that. But then I started coming to Jersey and doing the work in hotels, and then I thought, well, I could easily be a hotel manager. And so it moved from hair hostess to a hotel manager. And at 25, I was a hotel manager at 25. So it was pretty cool.
And that's all my questions for you. But I just want to say thank you for coming on. You were the first person that I messaged to come on. So when you came to Highlands, that was kind of an idea to talk to people like you. So yeah, thank you for coming on.